Hello. All right, I'm James, and like Emil said, I'm from Eviivent, and with us we've got Will and Sai and Matt. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Eviivent and what it is, and kind of how we came up with the idea. So Eviivent is a development package basically that helps with event organizations. So for example, the idea came from what happens if you turn up to a large event, such as say Freshers Fair was the one that came to mind, and you turn up, you don't really know where you're supposed to be, what to do, what information there is, when it's a good time to be at a particular place. So we thought we'd try and help people with that experience. So, from a user's point of view, this app allows them to have access to an interactive map, which obviously being a map helps them locate things around the event, but also allows them to click on individual stalls and gain information relevant to that stall, such as contact details and sort of various other bits and pieces, as well as sign up to their mailing list. Because if you're anything like me, you'll have wandered around all the stalls, and then 5 minutes before the thing is black to shut, you suddenly go, oh, I wanted to be on those 3 mailing lists, and those stalls have gone home already, so what do I do? So basically, you can just sign up to their mailing list from the app, and basically this obviously makes life much easier. The other sort of users are, so the stalls themselves, the big advantage they've got is that they've got this greater reach. Because you can sign up by not actually being physically at their stall, it means that you don't have to wait for the sort of sign-up sheet to become available. You can just sign up whenever you like. But also, a really big important part is that they can post live updates. So these updates they can post, and you get notified about them on your phone. So you've always keeping up to time with what's going on. So you might post, for example, we've got a live demo coming up in 5 minutes for our new phone, for example. Or we're giving away donuts for the next 100 people that turn up. Whatever it might be. And then the last user of this package is the event organizers themselves. So the event organizer, basically this makes their lives just a bit easier. So they can lay out their venue with all the stalls around different places, and just generally makes their lives a little bit easier. So all in all, it kind of covers a large different spectrum of different things, and we're really happy with the way it's worked out. The only thing it doesn't do is it doesn't lay out the tables for you. So I'm going to pass you over to Will now, who's going to talk a little bit more about the way sort of everything works, and just a live demonstration for us, basically.
Hi everyone. So yeah, I'm Will, and I will first of all be showing you the web front end. The web front end, it was designed specifically for the venue manager in mind. So this is where he or she would come to lay out these stalls, essentially. Nice and simple for them, but quite powerful for when we get to, I suppose, the end user. So yeah, this is what it looks like. On the right, you've got a list of events that they currently manage. We'll be using the top one for this demonstration. We've already laid the stalls out for you just to save a bit of time, but you can basically move them around with a click and drag. You've got some buttons on the left-hand side to resize. The ones below kind of rotate as well. So yeah, lots of features to kind of move them about. If you're wanting to get into the details, you can also resize with the click and drag. We've converted pixels to meters up in the top corner as well, just to help you get down to the details if you're that way inclined, I suppose. Okay, so that's pretty much what this bit does. Once we hit save, what that will do is that will send that straight to our mobile front end. Now, the mobile front end, that is for the event goers and also the stall owners. We'll be signed in as a stall owner for the mobile front end. So yeah, I think we'll just move over to there now. All right, so yeah, here we are. If we want to go back to the map quickly. And there we go. Okay, so yeah, as you can see, these stalls, they are set out exactly as they are on the web front end. They are slightly different. You can't move them on the mobile front end. They've turned into buttons, essentially. You can click on them, tap on them. You'll find out more information regarding the stalls. We're currently signed in as a event manager, a stall manager. So if we click on their stall, I think we're signed in as Google. So if we go into Google Stall, we're able to post an update. So we'll just do that now quickly. These updates, they'll go to anyone that has this, this mobile front end. Come here, yeah. I mean, that would definitely bring me to their stall. There we go. And there's a lovely green exclamation mark there to let you know that they want you to come there now. So yeah, that's essentially how it works. What we're going to do as well is we're just going to send one from Matt's phone. I think he's logged in as Xbox. And there we go. Again, they just kind of pop up. You can see them, tap away, and they're gone. Just nice and immersive, I suppose. Yeah, that's our app. We're happy with how it works. I'm going to pass you on to Matt now, who's going to talk about the magic behind it, I suppose.
Thank you. So just a little bit about the tech stack on the web front end. We decided we'd go with React. That's really because we just got experience in it, so we knew we could kind of mold it into what we wanted it to be. And as well, we decided to use Material UI. That's basically just a way that we can make it look a lot nicer. Obviously, we only had about 10 days or so to be able to build this, so having that was like really good. One of the things we're most proud of with this is the map feature. So just a little bit about how this works. Each of these stores are fitted with like an event listener. So whenever these are kind of moved around, the state gets updated with the positional and dimensional data. And once the event organizer is happy with that, they click save. That gets sent to our database. And then we move on to the front-end mobile. So it just kind of seemed natural to us to go with the React Native, considering we're using React for the front end. And also, we wanted to develop both for iOS and Android. So with the map for this, how this works is we call, we make an API call to the server. And once we get the data back, we scale that down to like the device height and width, and it turns into the lovely map you see before you now. That's about it for the front end, so I'll pass you on to James for the back end.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit more about the back end. So there was kind of like one really crucial thing that we decided that was really important for our app was this kind of live update aspect to it. So for that, we kind of used WebSockets, basically. We found a nice package called socket.io, and that allowed us to basically provide these live updates straight to the map. And actually, we were really pleased with the way that worked, and actually didn't cause us too many problems, despite the fact that we thought that was going to be one of our biggest issues. In terms of the rest of the back end, it's built in Postgres SQL and Express. The reason we've chosen an SQL database is basically all our information is relational, and so it basically made sense to store it in a sort of simplified format. The way we kind of built this, we built it with a large sort of section of relatively generic functions, which meant that when we decided to add more data tables later halfway through the development and more endpoints, it became really easy to do that because we'd done all the legwork at the beginning. Basically, the sort of adding additional stuff to it became really simplified, so we're glad that we definitely opted for that kind of route. And then we've thoroughly tested the back end with both Mocha and Chai, and we're really happy with how robust the back end is, and it is actually pretty flexible in terms of adding stuff to a later date if we ever wanted to. So I'm now going to pass you on to Sai, who's going to talk a little bit more about the way we hosted it.
Hi, so apart from the mobile front end, which was basically just run locally using Expo, the rest of our components were hosted on Amazon Web Services. So we thought this would be a good idea because we know that Amazon's reliable, it's robust, and it's good to start off small projects and scale them up to full-scale products. We also thought it would be a good idea to containerize our server and our web front end because we was working with multiple components. It was good to test out locally. All we had to do was spin up the containers with one command rather than doing them all separately. And if we knew we had them working on our local machine, we could just push them up to EC2, and they'd work exactly the same. Docker's also great for just scalability in the cloud because you can just spin up new replicas of your containers and just load balance between them. So what happens here is that the event organizers interacts with the web front end here. Within the Docker network, the server and the front end talk to each other. Then the server interacts with the RDS database, and then the mobile can also interact with the server. So yeah, moving on. that's it for that. So some of the main issues we came across at the start was we basically knew that because we was developing for both iOS and Android, there were going to be some cross-compatibility issues. Even though React's built for both of them, some things just don't work very well on both platforms. So we was continually testing out every time we made a commit, every time we made a save, we was making sure it was working on both iOS and Android. So if something didn't work on down one route, we know we could switch to the next. So this saved us from pigeonholing ourselves down a route we couldn't get out of. Another issue we came across, so to begin with, on the EC2 instance, we originally had another layer. We had Rancher OS, which was managing our containers. It's a really great piece of software. It provides you with a nice UI to manage containers, gives you health checks. But for some reason, it stopped working. It wasn't spinning up one of the containers. And then, I spent a lot of time just trying to fix it. It couldn't work, so we ended up ripping it down and just installing Docker normally and just pulling our containers how we was doing it locally. And that solved that problem. So moving on to how we worked as a group. To begin with, we split off into pairs. Me and Matt was working on the front end, and James and Will paired up on the back end. Once we started to getting things working, was able to connect things up, we sort of split up individually and started working on different components as there was quite a lot of different aspects to work on. So I ended up tackling the deployment. Will moved over to the web front end, continued to work on that. Matt carried on with the mobile, and James carried on with the back end. And then once things were starting to get finalized, we all moved back to the mobile, as there was still quite a lot of work to do on that, because I think that was where the main chunk of work was. It's quite a heavily mobile-based app. So that's it for that. James, move on. So the things we've achieved, basically, we've learned a lot of new technologies. We've learned how to use React Native. We've learned how to use AWS, Docker. We've learned how to use Git properly. But yeah, so the main outcome of this is it's a learning process. It's not just about the app. We've learned a lot. And aims for the future. So there's endless scope for this project. There's so many things we could add, but I'm just going to narrow it down to three main things we want to concentrate on as the next steps. So authentication, we've not really implemented any proper authentication. I think if we were to do this properly, we would outsource authentication to Amazon Cognito. We'd give more control to the event organizers, so they could control who gets what updates, and just basically have more control of the flow of data in the event. And we'd also like to add geolocation to the app, so we could map outdoor events a lot easier. So say for something like the Christmas markets, we wouldn't have to draw out our events. People with the app could just pinpoint their location and set up their icon on the map like that, and you could find those icons like that. Yeah, I guess that's it. Thanks for listening.